Hi, I'm Kacey.
And I'm Gianni.
I never finished reading the Animorphs books as a kid, and I still haven't as an adult.
And I've never read them.
We can't tell you where we live.
But we can tell you that we want to revisit these books as adults and dive into what we would keep or change if we were to put it on TV.
Two friends, 50-something books. Welcome to morphinbuddies.
And then the music kicks in, and then people are just so ready.
Gianni, come here.
Yeah.
Here. Didn't I tell you this book would be Banana Land?
You did. You didn't lie.
Do you feel like it was sufficiently Banana Land?
It was Banana Land, brother.
Banana Land!
We went there.
Hey everybody, welcome to morphinbuddies, our next podcast, starting off with a different opening. Whoa, look at that. Me, your host, Kacey Cisnowski. We got Mr. Gianni DeMaia dancing on the screen across.
Yeah, driving the boat down to Banana Land. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's where we're going today.
I don't know why
this book was
Banana
fun.
Land feels like an archipelago to me. You know, it's like it's an island out there. You know,
I feel that. I feel that. Does it have any crocodiles on it?
It could.
It might.
It could. Who's to say?
Yeah. So we are reacting. See what I did there? To the reaction. Rachel's book, The Reaction. This was probably one of the more insane books I think I've ever read.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what's funny? So this is no one needs to know this information about my life, but I got really interested. I promise it's going to connect back, so just follow my thread of thought here. I got really interested in all this behind the scenes drama of the movie It Ends With Us that just came out.
Oh yeah,
I got super interested in it, so much so to the point where I was like, let me read the book real quick. I read that book in a day.
Oh no!
Let me tell you, it's not great. I'm sorry to burst people's bubble because I know Colleen Hoover, beloved and like super bestseller. It's not a very good book. I think it has some questionable moral like objectivity to a very particular tense topic. But I would say that coming out of that and then reading this, I was like, I'm still living on Banana Land, dude. Like, I'm very different books, mind you. I don't want anybody to have any expectations for It Ends With Us being anything like this book, but we're living on Banana Land. So this is the week of it.
That's where we're at. This is excellent. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people on Reddit talk about It Ends With Us, and a lot of people say the author is trash, kind of like Nicholas Sparks. Like, that's just the type of stuff that she writes all the time.
You know, listen, I hesitate to like just bash anybody on the interwebs, but who cares? It's us and our dozens of followers here. So what I'll say is that, you know, Lily Bloom is the protagonist of the book, and she owns, you guessed it, a flower shop.
What?
Made for people who don't like flowers. Now, take
Lily Bloom.
That's just
Lily
the backdrop.
Bloom.
That's just the backdrop. You take that however you will. That's just me telling you facts. That's not me telling you opinions about it.
You know, I'm going to tell you this. This is also slightly off topic. I recently was like, I want to watch some kind of like romantic movie. And I want it to be good.
Right.
And I was scrolling through, and I saw A Walk to Remember. And I was like, I've never seen that, but I've heard of people talk about this. So let me turn this on. Right in the very beginning credits, it says based on the book by Nicholas Sparks. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I watched it, hated it. And then by the end, I was like, what was the walk? Where was the walk? And then I had to look it up online. And they're like, oh, when she walked down the aisle. I'm like, no,
she remembered it.
I don't accept that.
She remembered it, though.
Well, I don't accept it. I don't accept it. And that movie has been erased from my memory. I don't accept it. So, besides Nicholas Sparks and Colleen Hoover, how'd you feel about K.A. Applegate and Michael Grant on this one? How'd they do?
I'm ready to really ruffle feathers here. I came in with a mission, and it was to ruffle feathers. And the reason I say that is because, so like, obviously we've been doing this this is our 13th book.
Yeah.
Now. I've been doing it for long enough that I'm usually pretty good now at like going out and like sussing out other people's opinions about this stuff without spoiling anything else in the series for myself. And I really know nothing about what's to come. So I do though look up like generally people's opinions about this kind of stuff. There's Reddit forums that like kind of rank the books. I found this really fun tier list that has like all these tiers for the books. And so I always consult these things as I go. And my favorite one to consult is, I think we had talked about it on one of the episodes, was I had found like a page that just went book by book and just ranked them on whether or not they were essential, readable, or skippable. So this book was skippable.
No!
As per the thing. And here's my thing, because I think I have a reputation, okay, with our dozens of listeners here. I think I have a reputation on the show for liking the nitty-gritty, the serious stuff. And I just want to say that I could be silly too, okay? And this is in my humble opinion, this is Animorphs at its very best. I love this book.
I do too.
I'm so glad you like this book. The tier rankings, I think they had this as like a C. I was like, you guys are out of your fucking minds.
This book is so much fun. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Not only is it a blast and just like has the goofiest, silliest ideas in it, it also is plotted better than any of the other books in the series thus far. Where every single thing is interweaving at like exactly the appropriate time to cause the most calamity. Where you're
go ahead.
I mean, I was just like, I kept saying to myself, like, oh, but they're going to, like, write themselves out of this situation in this. And then instead, something crazy happens, and then they can't quite get out there. And so you're on this, like, sort of snowball effect as it's rolling downhill. And I was like, this is awesome. This is
so much fun.
This is everything the series should be. And I'm upset that it took them this long to just be like, let's just be campy as fuck.
Yeah. They really leaned into it. And also, to kind of piggyback off of that thought, everything that's set up in the beginning pays off by the end, like tenfold, which is also part of what makes this book so much fun. It feels like, even though it's over the top ridiculousness, like almost like you wouldn't believe it at all, because it all works together and it makes sense in the context of what we have set up in the beginning, it works. It's great. So
couldn't agree more.
Love this book.
I mean, dude, this book rocked. This might be my new favorite, honestly. Like,
wow.
I don't want to get crazy here.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it, and there was not a single moment of the book that I didn't have fun. Yeah. And I know that, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this. I know a lot of people tend to be like, oh, I read or I watch movies or whatever to like escape, like just pure escapism. And I kind of take issue with that because I'm like, yeah, you're distancing, like it's a sort of like dissociative kind of experience, and I think people should be more involved, just particularly in the fiction that they experience, because I think that it can give us a lot of things of value for our everyday life, and I think that marketing something as just pure escapism is kind of writing it off, right? And I don't really subscribe to that belief. But what I will say is that if you are looking for pure escapism in its finest of forms,
this is it.
This is the best like isolated Power Rangers episode that you could possibly get out of the Animorphs.
100%.
It's 100%. Goofy as hell. Here's what I'll say. If you read the beginning of what was it, book 8, The Alien, with Axe, if you read the beginning of that book with the globules and the silliness in the movie theater or whatever, and you were like, this is good, then like you'd love this book. If you read that beginning and you were like, I hate this, I don't know if this
probably
is
not the book for you, buddy. Sorry, bud.
And don't get me wrong, like the zaniness in this like makes more logical sense to me than like even just the globules thing, because it's like, I mean, he's like crawling around on the floor of a movie theater and his friends are like, where did he go? Like that's a little silly. Like there's nothing quite like that outlandish in this.
Right.
But I'm surprised that people like some of the other books that I've seen people like rank higher or whatever more than this, because I think maybe we just want something different out of our Animorphs experience, but I'm like, no, that's not true though, because I like the android just as much as the next guy. Like, I'm with it. I get what you guys want out of this series, and I understand that this doesn't have anything to do in like the overarching plot here, but this is way more fun than the other filler ideas that Applegate and co have had thus far. So like, if this is what I can get every time, give this to me on a platter, please.
Hell yeah. I totally agree with you. There is a huge difference between something being filler and then something being filler but making it super fun, where you're just on the adventure the entire time. And I feel like that's definitely what this book achieved. Like, everybody, the characters, they all stayed true to themselves. There wasn't anything that was like, oh, I don't think they would say that. Oh, that doesn't feel very realistic. Everything, you're just on the ride for the entire thing. And then you keep going like, what? That's crazy. And then something else crazy happens. And you're like, what? That's insane. And then something funny happens. And you're just along for the ride, having a great old time. So
it felt the most true to the characters also. And like, I know that maybe some people... If I had to guess, I would say maybe some people are taking issue with the fact that, like, some characters are definitely sidelined more than others. But if you're paying attention, every character does get their moment.
Yes.
Like, even something as simple as, like, the quick, quiet character interaction when, like, Jake is being Jake at the beginning. We'll talk about it more in spoiler territory. But like,
I can't wait for that.
Even that, like, the quiet moment with Tobias just being like, just say this. Is like a perfectly defined character relationship moment between, like, our protagonist character or our POV character in this book, Rachel, and how she's seeing the other people around her. Like, Cassie constantly being like this sort of helper of the group. Jake, much to my chagrin, was like a bit of a leader in how he delegated things in this book. Axe was like the technician, just kind of like coming in at precisely the right time to like do the thing. And Marco was absolutely the jokester in a very surprisingly appropriate way for Marco. I was just so pleasantly surprised with how much I loved this book from top to bottom. I loved this book. It was great.
Yeah, all the characters felt like super fleshed out. And like you said, even if they didn't have a ton of time or a ton of things to do in the book, they still felt like they had a role to play in this story. And I just really loved that. I really loved, Marco did have a lot of quippy stuff that he said. Tobias was kind of in on the action a little bit, even though he didn't really have much to do in this. He still had his moments where he kind of shone, and you were like, oh, that's Tobias being smart, because that's who he is,
Right.
This is definitely going to the top of the list for me. I loved it. And I told you, you were real close with the peanut allergy.
I can't believe how
I
close
told you.
I was shocked. I was shocked how close I was.
Yeah, I almost wanted to kind of lead you into a discovery, but I also didn't want to ruin the surprise when you found out she's allergic to the morph. So
I gasped when they actually said that was.
Did you guess it at all?
No, I was like, oh, it's a reaction to like I thought it was like some ray beam or something that someone hit her with or whatever. I had no idea that was what was happening. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I mean, I did tie it to, I was like, clearly it's something to do with her emotions or whatever in certain scenes. So I was like, okay, maybe it's like a disease that someone like injected her with or something, and I just didn't notice. But no, had no idea.
Nope.
I mean, look, the book's not perfect. I get it. And, like, we'll talk about, like, I don't know, the like, gripes that we have with it. I'm not saying that the book is perfect, but it is definitely the most fun I've had with this series to date, by a pretty wide margin for a lot of them.
Agree. All right, so should we dive in? Let's get into this fun book. Dive right in. Oh, look at that perfect diver's form. The Olympics are over. You missed your chance, Gianni.
I know. It could have been me, though.
It could have.
Look at this, This guy's a shark, right?
Yeah, I can see it. I feel it. So, yeah, why don't you start us off? We start off with a field trip to the zoo, right?
We do, yeah. We're going to the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious because, so obviously Rachel's our POV character here. And she even talks about it. She's like, I could literally go to the zoo anytime I want because my best friend, Cassie, or basically they run the zoo.
Yeah.
But a field trip's a field trip. You know, at the end of the day, like, we're gonna live it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's going. They're dicking around. This book, I will say as well, is the most 90s of any of the books in the series.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
For weird reasons. Like, for one, there's the safety protocols on the crocodile
exhibit
cage could only be this awful in the 90s. Like when, because in the 90s, I don't know if there are any like what do they call them, Gen Zers?
That's the generation after millennials. Yeah.
But some of you may not know this, but in the 90s, they hated kids and wanted them dead.
You got to fight to survive.
They wanted it to be survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s, if you had a peanut allergy, like,
sorry, you're dead.
Tough fucking break, you know. but that's not to say that I think we should go back to that culture.
No. We don't endorse child murder.
Right. And peanut allergies are serious.
Yes.
And probably more serious than they were to like the two friends that I knew who had them when I was growing up. But in the 90s, kids were expendable. They were like a currency.
For
like,
sure.
You had a couple of kids, you were like, all right, well, one could, have an accident and then it'd be fine. Now, they weren't as expendable as they were in the 70s.
No.
But that's a story for another time.
Correct.
The point is that basically they go to this like crocodile exhibit. They're looking at the little crockers. And
the Betty Crockers.
Yeah, the little crocky boys. And all of a sudden, I'm pretty sure they might have actually written in the book all of the sudden.
Yeah.
But it was literally all of the sudden a boy is climbing over the enclosure.
He just decided
like,
where are his parents.
They're like, what are you doing? And then he falls in, and it's pandemonium immediately. Everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And Cassie's like, "I'm gonna go get help." Rachel, don't do anything crazy.
Rachel's like, "Okay," now immediately jumps in.
we know our girl though.
Yeah,
like
she's got to do something.
We know who she be.
Yeah, Xena warrior princess.
For whatever reason. Yeah, fucking. They said it like 19 times in this book.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. It's getting on my nerves just a little bit. I'll let it slide because I like Rachel, but...
That's enough.
Man,
We get it.
It's getting tough. So, Xena Warrior Princess, almost immediately, like, Cassie walks away. She's like, well, I can't do nothing. Yep. So she hops on in there.
She does her gymnastics into the exhibit also. Which
is crazy.
She's like, oh, it's just like the pommel horse, and then I swing on the parallel bars of the tree. Oh, and then I fell down. Just like in gymnastics.
Now, so for whatever reason, they kind of describe this enclosure as like there's kind of a like a, what do they call it when like your sight is obscured.
There's like blind spots in it. Where
there's like
where people aren't going to be able to see into.
So she ends up like kind of using one of these to like hop on the crocodile and like take the morph from the crocodile so that it's passive. Mm-hmm. She's able to pacify it for a moment, but then the croc kind of comes to, and then she turns into a croc because she has the thought to herself, because they're sort of like predatory animals, they're going to have a sort of hierarchy in a sense where they'll have to fight over who gets the meal. The meal in this instance being the boy. Yeah. So she's like, if I go after the boy, then the other croc will have to fight me. So she's going toe to toe with this croc.
Distracting him so the boy can get help.
Exactly. And then the obviously everything ends up all right in the end, because Rachel ends up basically speaking to the boy.
Yeah, she's like, get out of here.
And she's like, get on, like hop on my back.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy. and so like we're at a point in the series, and I think we've probably been at this point for a while now. So I can't be too hard on the reaction for it, like specifically, but we're at a point in this series where this is getting to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy comical levels of like, really? We don't know who it is? Where it's like,
oh my God.
Every single person in Peter Parker's life knows who Spider-Man is. And like at least 8 or 9 other hundreds of people who also know who this guy is. Know who this guy is. We really don't know who this guy is. Like, and it's at the point now where it's like, okay, they got to start putting their heads together here. I want, you know, it would be really funny. This is tangential. You could cut this out of the podcast, but what I really want is I want just like we get to like book 15 or something. Yeah. And they just take a break from all of these characters, and it's just like. It's kind of like, what's going on? It's like some sort of weird AA meeting with all these different new characters. And we realize we've seen all of these people before. They're just all of the people who are like, yeah, I had a really weird interaction with an animal specifically.
Oh my God. That would be
and they
so
just
good.
Kind of all got together.
And they
were like...
They've never been able to get over it. They're like, yeah, a gorilla talked to me once and said, hey, what's up, dude?
I was robbing this old man outside.
Gorilla came out of nowhere.
And then the twist at the end of that book or whatever is that like one of the guys who we don't recognize is Visser 3 the whole time.
Oh,
he's like,
shit.
Interesting. That's my big pitch for a totally original
That would work
episode.
as a really good prologue, actually. That would be amazing.
Thank you very much. I think that would be it would be funny to write.
Yeah.
So then they kind of
also we forgot when Rachel acquires the crocodile morph, she feels funny. She feels like hot prickly needles all over her body. So that
you're right, and I didn't think anything of this at the time.
Of course.
I was just like, oh yeah, crocodiles are hot. I don't know.
They're cold-blooded, Gianni.
They're like
they're reptiles.
You know, funny, I did think that too. I was
God.
Weird. I don't know why she would describe him as
this
hot.
Crocodile.
Maybe it's been out in the sun.
He's got a fever. It's a sick crocodile.
So she they like go. The next thing we know, the whole gang is like all together, and they're talking about this event, and basically like now it's being kind of described like the boy's on the news, and he's talking about like you know the like what happened to him or whatever, and Jake is going full Jake mode
in his low silky voice.
Oh my God, just punch him in the throat already. But he's like, I can't believe you would do this. It's so irresponsible. And we never morph for no reason. Yeah. Even though this was a particularly good reason. And then Tobias is like, shut up, dude. But he won't say it out loud because, listen, I'm going to say it. It's a little bit of a bitch, all right? A little bit of a bitch. Didn't want to step toe-to-toe with the boy. Wanted to talk behind his back a little bit. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow, Gianni. Those are strong words. Those are strong words.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there. Uh-huh. But everybody else, bigger bitch, because nobody else had anything else to say. But Tobias thought speaks to Rachel. And he's
only.
Like, why don't... Mm-hmm. Well, he's like, why don't you just ask him what he would have done in the situation? That'll shut him up. Which is big facts, brother. Yep. And I've been saying that they should do this for, what book are we on? 12? 12 books I've been saying they should do this. To this fucking guy.
This fucking guy.
She says that, and immediately Jake's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I would have done the same thing. Go figure, bro.
Oh Oh my
The biggest hypocrite in the insert area that they live for the Animorphs series. The biggest hypocrite that side of the Mason-Dixon line. That's that guy.
Look, Gianni, I also noticed something that I wanted to mention. First off, Rachel mentioning his low, silky voice when he gets mad. He doesn't yell, but he just yelled at Cassie in the secret in front of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's right. I tried to block out every element of the secret imaginable, but yes, you're right.
But also, Rachel mentions, Jake is the boss because he doesn't want to be the boss, but because he has to be the boss, which I was like, that's an interesting thing to say, Rachel, because to me, that says you guys just forced him into the leadership position. And he's sitting here telling you guys, I'm not good at this. I don't want to do this. I don't like this. And they're all like, but no, you're the leader. He's like, why am I the leader? I don't have any part in this. So I think all of the Animorphs are gaslighting Jake into being a leader.
That's an interesting take, except for the fact that he's constantly stepping up.
Yeah.
And constantly inserting himself into fucking other people's business when he doesn't need to.
Like when he took the weapons chair from Marco without telling him.
Yeah, what the this guy, I mean, even this, like, nobody's like coming to Rachel being like, how dare you do that?
No.
Except for Jake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, I think you have a point in terms of what we experienced with the last book. What was it called? The Forgotten?
Yeah.
You do have a point in the context of that book, but then immediately we're back to square one with Jake. It's like, none of that even happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
I am scared he's not going to have any character development. That makes me real nervous.
Yeah, he's, you know what? If he's going to keep being hungry, then I got a knuckle sandwich to give him.
Oh, get him,
Jake,
Gianni.
Hey, Jake, you're looking a little skinny, huh? You want a knuckle sandwich?
Get him. Feed him, Gianni. Feed him. Feed the boy. He's hungry.
I'll knock his ass out. And so
they call him out on his nonsense. And Jake, also Jake says, I don't yell. I'm not anyone's parent. I'm like, bitch, yes you do. Yes, you do. What? Oh, okay. Anyway, knuckle sandwich. You know, maybe he's got a second knuckle sandwich coming his way.
Listen.
Let's hope he has an appetite.
You're looking famished. You're looking famished, kid.
So, anyway, we learn about the Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I mean, Jeremy Jason
Jonathan
McCall.
Taylor Thomas.
That's who they base this kid off of. It's clear. Because he's on a show called Powerhouse with a famous comedian as his dad. Home Improvement? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah. And then they make a reference to Baywatch, as if these kids still watch Baywatch.
Oh, the boys definitely watch Baywatch. Are you kidding me?
These 12-year-olds? Maybe.
Yes.
I guess it's possible.
Marco and Jake absolutely do.
Yeah. Well, Marco for sure.
100% Marco does. That's his favorite show.
That little cretin. Love him though. But yeah. So they learn about the sharing is basically hired some very famous celebrity named Jeremy Jason McCole, who is this teen heartthrob who's going to endorse the sharing.
Yes.
On some sort of talk show, I guess. Did they ever say the name of the talk show?
Barry and Cindy Sue show, which is a Regis and Kathy Lee knockoff.
Yeah, very, very up to date on
90s, baby. Steel trap right in my almost 40-year-old brain.
They clearly changed all the names to protect us.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if the Animorphs was like a real journal and they really were like, we changed all the names to protect everybody's
That would be
identity.
amazing.
And then immediately you're reading this, you're like, oh, yeah, that guy, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who was on the Reuben and Kelly show?
Yeah, it was definitely. I remember seeing that on Regis. That was crazy. Crocodile bit one of them. That's nuts. So, anyway, so he's coming to town in 2 days, Jeremy Jason McCall, and he's going to be on the Barry and Cindy Sue show, which I guess the national TV show broadcast is from their little town, wherever they live in somewhere, Washington probably. Forks, Washington.
Go figure. again, it's at the point where I literally could probably find them if I just walked over
exactly.
there. But yeah, so the girls are talking. This is actually another aspect I really liked about it, where even the girls are like,
we love him.
That guy. Listen, that guy. But they're also making a good point about how it's potentially very damning for the sharing to have an endorsement like that, because they make a point to say that there's not many girls that they know their age that don't have a poster in their room of Jeremy Jason McCole. This could be an endorsement that really brings like a lot of attention to the sharing. So it's definitely something to be concerned about.
Yes.
So Rachel is then later that night, she's doing a little research
on Jeremy
on the Google. Perhaps methinks a little titillating research.
Which I also really love this tiny little detail. She's on the internet, and then she gets off the internet to call Cassie. Because in the days of dial-up, if you don't know, you couldn't use the phone and be on the internet at the same time. And I remember...
Absolute garbage.
Yep.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that
Yeah.
shit? I just remember that awful sound. I never really used it.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. But my parents would be like, I have to use the phone. Get off the internet. And I'm like, oh, fine. I have to get off AOL Messenger.
Could you imagine if it still worked like that right now? That'd be crazy.
Oh my God. That'd be nuts. So she's doing a little research, and then what's going on? She's starting to morph. She's starting to morph into an animal. It looks like she is. What's that? She's turning into an elephant in her second floor bedroom. Oh no. Floor collapse, almost kills her sisters. And she thankfully she couldn't help it. She didn't know how to stop it, couldn't stop it at all. She crashes through, and then she finally is able to morph back to human, thankfully being hidden under rubble, not speared to death by
thank God.
the pieces of house. And then she's like, yo, sisters, are you okay? And sisters are like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. That was weird. And so now, because her house has collapsed inward on her, now the news stations are like, oh, you saved the boy in the croc exhibit, and a house fell on you. We gotta interview you. So that
she's doing all these interviews, and she's basically giving them really snarky, sarcastic answers, and they're like, all right, you're not fun.
Exactly. She goes to the hospital, and they're she's answering questions and stuff, and the dad's like, do you want to go on talk shows and talk about this? Because I'm a news reporter, I got connections. And she's like, actually, can you get me on the Barry and Cindy Sue show? I'm gonna trip over that sentence every
Barry
time.
and Cindy Sue.
Because I want Cindy Sue show. That's a tongue twister.
Barry and Cindy Sue show.
Okay, well,
that is tough.
Yeah,
that's
right.
A tough one.
Try Irish wristwatch. Try that one.
Am I gonna say something?
No.
Okay.
No. That's the best tongue twister I've come across. Irish wristwatch.
Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. Iris.
Oh.
I did. Yeah.
Irish
Irish wristwatch.
Yeah. Right.
Irish.
That one twists you up. Definitely try it out at home. We'll wait.
Did you like that?
Did you like it? Was that fun? Cool. So she wants to go on the Barry and Cindy Sue show because Jeremy Jason McCole is going to be there, and maybe she can figure out if he's an actual controller or not. Cool. And then I don't remember. Oh.
Well, so they go to the hotel after this.
Yes.
Her dad has to step out. Well, so to also frame this, we do get a little bit deeper character understanding of Rachel's home life, which is that her parents are recently divorced. And it seems as though her mom has some sort of animosity for the dad a little bit because she gets the feeling that Rachel likes the dad better. Rachel's like, that's not true, but my mom, does these things and then kind of pushes me away a little bit. It's like a classic kind of broken home dynamic there. But so she goes to the hotel to say, because her dad's like, yeah, just come, stay with me while I'm in town or whatever. But then he goes out, it's presumably for some sort of thing associated to work. And when he does, Cassie calls up to the room and is like, hey, are you alone? Like, let's talk about this or whatever. Let's talk about what happened. And Rachel's like, yes. So then Cassie flies in through the window. That's another fucking 90s thing now. Hotel windows don't open
No,
anymore.
they don't. I didn't even think about
None
that,
of
but
them.
no, they don't. They really don't.
None of them do.
Wow.
Probably from all the people jumping out of
I
them,
blame
but-
Mike Birbiglia. Because he did jump out of the second story window. Anyway.
There you go. So she flies in, and then they hang out and kind of don't really talk about like what happened.
Not
Like, it's
really.
kind of
I mean,
not
Cassie
really-
tries to get it out of Rachel, and Rachel's like, yeah, stuff.
And that's the biggest knock on this book that you
Yeah.
can make, is that the whole plot like kind of doesn't really happen if Rachel is just a little bit more upfront. So the whole thing is very contrived in that sense. But to the book's credit, this is the only moment in which I feel like there's an actual opportunity that, you know, Rachel could broach something and then maybe get an answer that could prevent a lot of the other events. The rest of it is kind of just, again, like I call it that falling snowball. It's just that snowball down the mountain of like, okay, everything's just happening now. We're kind of just, all right, we're out of control. And I don't know, the other thing too that I have to give it a little bit of props for in that department as well is like, while yes, it is contrived, the way that she gets the explanation later, it kind of doesn't really alleviate any of the situation. It's kind of, it's just like, yeah, well, you know, I mean, we'll talk about that when it gets to it, but it's like, there's not really a whole lot to be done. She just kind of, I think that this is the only maybe instance in which if she had said something, they could have had better safety precautions for what happens later, but I'm glad they didn't, because the rest of it is just so fun.
And I think it also plays in tune with her being out of control in terms of controlling her morphs. Because, yeah, she starts morphing crocs, she turns into fly, she turns into elephant, her house falls apart. Like, there's no break between those to try to get back into human, which has never happened before. So it's kind of like, not only is her body completely out of control, but also mentally she's having a lot of problems. She's trying to control a situation that she can't, essentially. Or she doesn't have the maturity or she doesn't have the maturity to be able to kind of face these things and explain them in a way where, you know, she feels okay about it. She feels safe to explain it. So I kind of did like a little bit of that kind of parallels. But yeah, I do. I like the Banana Land.
But this next bit is I don't know why I liked it so much, but I just thought this is such a fun idea. Like this is like, if you you know what it felt like? It felt like taking every opportunity available to the writer and being like, yeah, this would be fun. Since we have this as like our sort of plot framework, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
And this was the first step, because so basically Rachel goes to school after this whole incident, and everybody's like kind of being, you know, at different levels of like weird to her. There's people who are like really interested in the situation, and there's people who are like a little bit more dismissive.
Yeah.
But all in all, everybody's being, you know, kind of like gets the gist, like, you know, leave her alone. She doesn't really want to talk about what happened, right? And so school's going fine, and then Vice Principal Chapman calls her into his office. And the vice principal, or assistant principal, as I think they identify him in the book, I don't know the distinction between the two, but she is obviously a controller, which we know from several other books. But so she goes in pretty wary, and it kind of is very, you know, like this sort of like tense engagement where he's like kind of probing her about questions about what had happened. And she's like, oh my God, he must know. She's getting really agitated. She's getting really anxious. And as she's getting anxious, she realizes that her shoes are ripping because her feet are becoming bare feet.
Not like BARE, but BEAR feet.
Yeah.
She doesn't give those away for free.
Right.
Never give
That's
them for
our
free.
national apology. That's our national
Never give them
policy.
for free.
I forgot.
Yeah, so Chapman's like, is everything okay? You know, we have a group called The Sharing. Since,
yeah, he thinks that she's just depressed
because her parents are
and tried to jump into
divorced.
the crocodile pit
Yeah.
and kill herself.
That's right, I forgot.
Which is
he's
so fucking funny.
He's like, are you sure you didn't do it on purpose? And she's like, yeah, it must have been
She's like,
something.
no, I'm happy.
I'm good, I'm set. And he's like, all right, well, we've got this group called The Sharing. You might find it's really helpful. We do a lot of cool things, and a lot of kids that have been through a lot of really hard times, like you're going through right now, with a house falling on you and everything. So, you know, you should consider joining the group. And so Rachel's like, yeah, okay, thanks. And she's leaving, and she looks down, and her feet are furry bare feet. And then she's like, hey, you like my new boots? And she lifts up a foot to show him. And he's like, that's very nice, Rachel, thank you. And she leaves.
He's like, the things kids will wear these days.
Little did he know. But I love just that last little bit. They didn't have to put that in the book, but I love just that last little touch of like, oh yeah, look at these boots. You like them? Like, she's just bringing attention to it, so it doesn't seem weird, like, at all. I loved that little moment.
This shit is pure camp, pure comedy. I love it.
Absolutely.
I want every scene to be like this. And they heard me say that out loud, and they were like, you got it. You get it.
This book is for you, Gianni. Written for you.
This book was for me. This book was for me. So they decide their master plan for after school is that they're all going to become birds, and they're going to basically scale the beach because they're looking for the Jeremy Jason McColl's yacht because he's in the area or whatever. And they want to try to see if they could suss out maybe this guy's a controller, or like, what's the deal? Yeah. Why is he trying to back up the sharing, right? And so as they're spying on this whole ordeal, they end up seeing him, of course, and immediately the girls are like, whoa, woof, you know, this guy's great. But
oh my god, wait, can I just mention a line here that made me laugh so hard? Yeah. They were like talking about Brad Pitt, and they're like, hey, Axe, if you see Brad Pitt, let us know. He's got like these large, luscious lips like Brad Pitt. Yeah. And Axe is like, how large would the lips have to be in order to be Brad Pitt's lips? And just total serious asking that. And I'm like, oh my god, Axe, you're the best.
Wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, doesn't, like, I think in a fit of like a little bit of spitefulness, doesn't like either Marco or Jake say something about Jeremy Jason McCall being like short? Or did I imagine that?
Yeah, they do.
Right?
And they're like, well, Marco, you're short.
Fuck yeah.
So, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, so they spy Jeremy Jason McCall. Short King Jeremy Jason McCall is on his yacht. Short King Jeremy Jason McCall is on his yacht.
And he's not a happy boy, is he, Gianni?
No, he's like, he's being all kind of like, what's in it for me? Like, they kind of like eavesdropping on this conversation. They're catching like every other word or whatever. But it's like him and a producer and like some person who's there.
Yeah. Somebody on his team, they were kind of like arguing. And like, look, Rachel was like, I loved him up until this point, and then I saw him completely differently. And he's arguing with his producer about like, I don't want to be typecast in these shows anymore. I want bigger and better and more complex roles. And I'm like, that doesn't make him a bad person. He's an actor. But of course, in a child's brain, you see that as him like shitting all over something that you like. But I just wanted to make a statement. That's not a bad thing. He wants to grow as a person.
How dare you, Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
How dare you, JTT? I'll be home for Christmas? Nope.
And so as Rachel's getting mad about this situation, they notice that the third person is Visser 3 in Visser 3's human morph.
Idris Elba.
As was already decided, of course, by K.A. Applegate herself. And so in his human morph, he's like kind of negotiating this whole thing. And she starts getting really mad about this whole engagement. And as she's getting upset, she's morphing again.
Uh-oh.
she starts plummeting out of the sky.
Yep. Starting to head right towards into the water.
As an elephant.
Uh-huh. And then she goes from, what was it, like elephant to... I forgot what the second one was.
Some sort of bug, right? Like it was,
she was an ant. She went to an ant, which then she got...
She would be dead, but okay.
Well, they're like, oh, she got trapped in an air bubble. I'm like, how do you get inside an air bubble without popping it?
She's dead.
She dead. She's dead.
But that's okay. I'm fine with it, because, so that she's an ant. Because then they're like... First of all, this was pure camp. Pure fucking camp. My favorite moment of this whole thing is she falls into the water as an elephant, and she thinks to herself as she's sinking, she goes, can elephants swim? And then she tries to swim.
And she realizes she can.
And she goes, oh yeah, no, they can. I guess I should have started to do that sooner because now I'm too far down.
Yeah, at that point when she realizes, oh yeah, they can swim, she's blacking out because she's drowning. And she's like, wow, this is crazy. And she starts like hallucinating. She's like, whoa, there's dolphins talking? Shit. Wow. Like,
this is fucking brilliant. And so they all come. She finally remembers that she could voice speak, and she's like, oh, right. Yes, I am now an ant, I guess.
What's up?
Can you please help me? And then that's that. At this point, you're like, how could this get any worse? And we realize that Visser 3 has now morphed.
Yep.
And is some sort of aquatic animal.
Do you remember what it's called?
It was something Javalin Fish, but I can't remember that first word.
Lebtin Javalin Fish.
Is this a real fish, or is this...
No, this is from a different planet. Fish. This is from...
Got it. I was just checking it.
There's no giant stingray that shoots spears out of its back.
Here's the thing, guys.
Yes.
I know you're saying to yourself, Gianni's an idiot, and you would be right. But I have had too many hot takes on this show about my opinions about animals to be fooled by something like that being a real animal. So I just wanted to be sure as we proceed forward. I was 99% confident that it was not, but I didn't want to get caught for a fool.
See, folks, remember, a fish is a fish, a bird is a bird, a bug is a bug.
Correct. A bug is a bug, and a lizard is a lizard, which is a new one I've added to the rules because I realized there's snakes and stuff, and I was like, I can't really fit it. So
okay, all right, still no mammals though.
Crocodile, snake.
All right, accepted.
Or a lizard, whatever you could. No, let's call it snake. I think snake's more fun.
A lizard is a snake. I think you did call snake. Wait, a lizard is a snake. Gianni,
a lizard is a snake.
Why can't you just say reptiles? Because they're all cold-blooded.
That's silly.
Wow. This is what... And we still don't have any mammals, correct?
Nah.
No. Mammals, not real. Humans?
Nah.
Nope. What is a human, then? What would you classify a human as?
No, I there's the everything else. That's what
Humans versus everything else.
Yeah. There's the humans, monkeys, pigs, dogs, cats. That's everything else.
Okay. I will accept this.
And then Lebtin Javalin Fish, that's a fish. So it's a fish.
It is a fish. It has fish in the name.
And so the fish
he blows up air and he shoots spears at people.
Yeah. And so they're all panicked. Rachel morphs into her croc morph.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, a croc is a snake, right? But I will just throw it out there. I did have the thought. I don't know, but perhaps you could enlighten us.
Yes.
Because I know that one of them, alligator and crocodile, I know that one of them can do saltwater, the other one can do freshwater. I don't know which one's which, and I don't know what type of water we're getting at this beach here.
Oh, boy.
Are we sure that this croc is going to be fine in this water? Because I don't know about all that.
Listen. All right, I'm going to bring out a quick education corner. Everybody sit down. We got a little bit of an education corner here. Alligators. Oh, you got it? Ah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, excellent.
That was my pen.
You got your notepad?
Post-its.
All right, perfect. You can leave these notes all over your house.
I got it.
Alligator v. crocodile. Alligators, I believe, Not 120% certain.
Yeah,
Alligators.
don't backtrack this, please.
It's been a long time since I had my animal learning business when I was a child.
Right.
Alligators, I believe, are freshwater. They live in swamps. Their noses are more shaped like the letter A. That's how you tell they're alligators. They're not quite as spindly as crocodiles, and they're usually a bit greener than crocodiles. Crocodiles are a little more brown. They have a thinner nose, so it's not quite as wide as the A shape. It's more like streamlined, you could say. Crocodiles also have both top and bottom teeth coming out of their jaw that you can see. I don't think alligators have both top and bottom teeth. And crocodiles are a little more, have more spines. They're usually bigger, and they live in saltwater. There are saltwater crocs. So theoretically, because they're in the ocean, crocodile could probably be okay.
We would assume. This croc is fine.
Yes.
Just checking.
Yep.
Just checking. Thank you for coming to this fact check corner.
You're welcome.
Brought to you by your favorite hosts.
That's right. You may click your pens goodbye and post those notes all over your house. There we go. Thank you, Gianni.
There you go. Enjoy. So, she becomes this lizard, a snake.
The snake.
the javelin fish pierces her like right through the tail.
Yeah.
And Rachel, in a moment of pure genius, decides, okay, I'm in a severe amount of pain. I'm going to play dead.
Which I think is genius, because Visser 3 doesn't know where her heart is. You think he knows? No way.
Genius. Of course, my heart is in my ass. And then she completely plays dead. Visser 3 comes closer to investigate, and then she chomps him.
Yep.
And he, scurries off into the distance.
No,
licking his sort of wounds.
Because he sucks in air to shoot the spears. When she bites him, it's like letting go of a balloon, and he just motors off into the ocean, far away, screaming.
Fish is a fish.
Fish is a fish. I just like that imagery.
But yet again, none of her other friends go to be like, let's go get him.
No.
They're like,
No. Everyone's like, let's
away.
get out of here. We all almost died. So then Axe is like, hey, Rachel, you probably have an allergy to the croc. And she's like, oh,
yes,
what?
This is our lore dump.
Yeah. He's like, you probably have an allergy. And she's like, I didn't, that's what? That's a thing? And he's like, yeah, so you're going to burp the croc at some point. She's like, what's that mean?
This lore dump is pure fucking camp. Because he's not that concerned. He's like, oh yeah, this is like a thing. And then 2, she even outright says, exactly in the thoughts of the audience, which is like, yeah, kind of like, whenever Axe talks about like the 0G stuff, we just kind of glaze over it. Like, we don't really know.
Yeah.
And so he's explaining like all these like technical terms. He's like, yeah. So basically, like the way, like I think the equivalent for your human language would be like you would burp it out or whatever. And she's like, okay, so like I just gotta wait until it just goes away. And then he's like, yeah, like that's exactly what happens. And so she's like, okay, great. That also explains why she's been having all of these
the reactions
experiences when she was agitated.
Heightened emotions.
Right. And they even outright make fun of her because they were like, the first time it happened in your house, what were you doing? She was like, well, I was Googling Jeremy Jason McCall.
Yeah, just Googling him. And they're like, what kind of pictures? She's like bathing suit pictures. That's fine.
Marco's like, you're going to horny jail for that one. And then she's getting all embarrassed, and then Jake, in one of his finer moments, is like, hey, if you want her to morph again, you're gonna agitate her right now, so just stop talking.
Yeah, smart.
And so they like let it lie.
Yeah. So they also tell her she has to be emotionless. She has to like control her emotions. She can't get crazy. Which of course, telling a preteen girl, don't get emotional, coming from a previous preteen girl myself. That's going to be real difficult to do.
Same. As a previous preteen girl myself, I would also say, no, I get it though, because I mean, listen, I was a previous preteen boy, and let me tell you,
you had to.
We didn't have it no better.
You had to stamp all those emotions down, and now you have emotional trauma. So.
Yeah. So they go to the show. She's doing the show still. because as we had already
Yes.
previously kind of set this in motion, she's like, well, now I got to do the show, even though we already pretty much know Jeremy Jason McCall is, Now, what ensues is perhaps the most Banana Land climax
Chaos.
ever concocted.
So good. Love this. Marco's a llama, first off. Let's just...
Which was this silliest little thing to throw in here for no reason whatsoever.
I loved it. He's like, hey, I'm a llama. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Why are you here? Second of all, why are you a llama?
He's like, it's fun.
He's like, well, Axe and Jake are here too, so don't get crazy. But they're in their bug morphs. I saw this llama, and I decided... llama, of course.
Let me lock the other llama in a closet somewhere. But no one knows where it is. They never find it.
Say, where's the llama? Where's the actual llama? He goes, I put it in like an unused dressing room. It's fine. Which is so funny. So they're like, okay. They're getting hair and makeup done. And of course, who comes in but Jeremy Jason McCall? Cassie can't contain herself. But Rachel has to really lock in, and so she just monotones through it, and she even says to herself, basically, she's like, I would absolutely morph, which seems like an allegory at this point now for some sort of sexual expletive, but I'll let your minds go there as you will. The point is, she just keeps it locked down, and Cassie's like getting all excited. And Jeremy Jason McCall is kind of a jerk. He's like, well, I don't need an audience for my makeup, so why don't you guys go scram? And so they leave, and they're like, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
But then they're like debating what they're gonna do, because now they're talking to the llama Marco, and they're like, all right, well, we gotta go through this or whatever. And then at a certain,
they're backstage.
They're
backstage.
Rachel just starts feeling it again. But she starts feeling that
I don't feel
that
good.
prickly, tingly sensation that you had mentioned at the very beginning.
But a lot more than...
And she's like, I think it's happening now. And they're like, okay. Yeah. So they try to figure out what they're going to do while they, how they can kind of get away. And as they are, Rachel is kind of experiencing this sort of quasi mind melding with the croc
two brains in her body at the same time. It's crazy.
And so she's kind of picturing herself with croc appendages, but she doesn't have them. And then she also has croc instincts. So she this is the funniest. She was the funniest part of the whole book. She sees Jeremy Jason McCall, and her croc brain is like meat, and she runs to him and just bites him on the shoulder.
Bites him right on the shoulder. And Cassie's like, oh, sorry, she really likes you.
And he's like, what is going on?
What?
Get this crazy girl away
from
me. So then they push her into a bathroom. They tell one of the assistants or whatever. They're like, she has to throw up. And she gets in the bathroom, and then she actually starts becoming a crocodile.
Yeah, well, it's bursting out of her body.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like the croc is growing under her skin, so her body is her body shape is completely changing. And then she's like, Cassie, and she looks in the mirror, and you see just this croc coming out of the back of her neck. Just coming right out of her back. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And she's like, Cassie, I think he's trying to come out. And Cassie's like, what do I do? We don't have enough room for all of us. And Rachel's like, I don't know. You got to do something. So she morphs a squirrel.
Yeah, so she panics. They're like, what did you morph into? I can't see you. She's like, I'm a squirrel. She's like, why are you a squirrel? She's like, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything. She's a squirrel. And then the croc fully comes out of Rachel, so she successfully burped it. But what they realize is that it basically created a crocodile who's now in the bathroom.
Yes, and now Rachel is also in grizzly morph. Her body morphed grizzly as the crocodile was bursting out of her body. So she's like some goddamn hell amalgamation of these three animals. It's like, it's my God.
Absolutely magical.
Yeah.
So they kind of stare at each other for a moment. They're like, what are we going to do? Cassie then jumps on the crocodile's head
Yeah,
kind of
scratches his
distract him
eyes
for a moment.
Yeah.
And then they kind of all tumble out of the bathroom.
Which also, by the way, when Rachel is in there and the croc's trying to come out of her body, a woman knocks on the door and she's like, I have to use the bathroom. And they're like, use a different one. And she runs away. And then she comes back after the croc is out of Rachel's body. She's like, there's no more bathrooms. I need this one. I'm like, ma'am, you can't be here.
So now there's a crocodile chasing two girls through the backstage area of the Regis and Kelly show. At a certain point, Marco like slips, and then he ends up knocking Jeremy Jason McCall over
out of the chair onto the floor, right in front.
And then he's staring face to face with a crocodile, and he's like, he just starts screaming, pleading for his life.
This is right in front of the live studio audience, in front of the cameras, and then somebody, I think maybe it was Cassie. It was somebody turned the lights off.
Yeah, so Cassie Thought speaks to everybody and is like, hey guys, I have the light switch, and then turns all the lights out.
Yes.
So Axe then uses this opportunity to swiftly kill the crocodile.
Thankfully. Did not eat Jeremy Jason McCall.
Yeah, and then as everybody's like sort of making their great escape, Rachel notices that a slug actually slithered out of Jeremy Jason McCall's brain. Presumably it was afraid that it was about to get eaten by the crocodile with Jeremy Jason McCall. So now the Yerk is now on the loose on the floor. Mm-hmm. They all make a break for it. Mm-hmm. And Rachel notices, she's like, I stepped on something squishy. I don't think that Yerk got very far.
Which is the perfect cherry on top for the end of this.
We did it. We fucking did it.
They all demorph in the different bathrooms. Oh, also, Cassie, before Rachel gets on the show, Cassie's like, if anything goes wrong, I'm going to acquire you, and I can be you for the show. Yeah. And Rachel's like, cool, that works. So after they all demorph and get out of the bathrooms and all the lights are back on, Rachel sees herself talking to Cindy Sue, and she's like, what the fuck? And then it's Cassie. And she's like, what the fuck, Cassie? That's me. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
And so Cassie kind of says that she's like, oh, this is crazy. First, I fall into a crocodile pit trying to save a child, and then a house falls on me, and now the llama's going crazy, and this whole show is crazy. And Cindy Sue's like, oh, yes. And then
someone shouts Andalite.
Oh yeah, and somebody, the backstage crew, points to Cassie morphed as Rachel. It goes, Andalite, and Cassie's just like, yeah, we could use some more light, thank you. I was just like, yes, Cassie, saving it at the very end, trying to pull it off, and she did. Our queen Cassie. So then it just cuts to the aftermath, like a day later. We found out
they're all hanging out.
Jeremy Jason McCall went to Uzbekistan, which, does that still exist?
I don't know.
Is that still?
Google
it. I want to see if that's still like a real country or if it became part of something else. Do you know how to spell it?
No, I was just looking at what came up for popularly searched. They declared independence from the Soviet Union in 1991.
Oh, congrats.
And I believe they're
still kicking?
They're still a country. Officially the Republic of Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good for them.
It's surrounded by 5 countries.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's a lot. Is Turkey one of them?
You're asking the wrong guy. I can look at a map.
I thought you were like looking at a picture, and I was like, "Ooh, guess the country."
No, it was literally just. It was written here. It was like it's surrounded. It's landlocked and surrounded by 5 countries. Anyway, so yeah, Uzbekistan.
So Jeremy Jason McCall went there.
Jason McCall.
Wonder if he's still there.
Yeah, he must be.
But apparently, everyone decides, oh, he moved out of the country to get as far away from the Yerks as possible on the other side of the world. Which to me feels a little dramatic, but okay.
Right.
So, and then that's pretty much the end of the book. Rachel's not gonna have a croc inside her anymore. She doesn't have the DNA. She doesn't have an allergy. She's good. She's all set. Oof. Hello.
God, it's great. I love this book. I loved it. Even regaling it makes me like it even more. It's even funnier than it was when I was reading it.
Yeah.
I'm upset that we won't see her as a croc anymore, but I'm happy it happened. I'm happy for the journey.
Yeah, this was fun. This would be so much fun to do as a TV episode, 100%.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't change a thing.
No, I wouldn't either.
If anything, I would, like, crucible it more, just, like, kind of lock it in more of a concrete reason, time-wise, why Rachel can't have the opportunity to tell people what's happening.
Yeah.
Just maybe other people more present, her dad more present, maybe just to kind of like keep that, more discreet, more under wraps.
I think it might be better, instead of having that hotel conversation with Cassie, might be better to try to have it with her dad. Because then it could give her more of that, I don't want to... Yeah, like, I can't explain this to you because I can't. So... And
then obviously she should make more of an active effort to like kind of talk to her friends at school about what's going on. Have that be the motivation to get pulled away by the vice principal or whatever. Yeah. That interrupts her. Just more reasons to like have Rachel make an active effort to change a thing, but to still be kind of brought back into it. Because that's really the major complaint of this particular novel, is just that I don't. It does feel contrived, the kind of reasoning of it, but I think you can write your way out of that in most instances.
I think so.
And then I think for Visser 3's, the only other thing, like when the javelin fish gets bit and then like flaps off or whatever, I do think they have cause to like go after him or whatever. Just have a ship there that's like ready to pick him up or whatever. Yeah. So that you can excuse that away. But that's really, it's like just kind of like nitpicky changes that just, I think, refine the story that they're trying to tell. But this episode would be hilarious and super awesome. And
so much fun.
And the only other thing I would change, I think that anytime you show the home life of Cassie and or Rachel, have the TV on in the background, and it should be playing like a Jeremy Jason thing. Just in other episodes in the series, just like kind of always alluding to like him being there, so that when it pops up, then it just is that much sweeter. That it doesn't feel like, oh, who's this guest actor? Like, then it's really like, oh yeah, that guy that I've been noticing in the background the whole time. That's Jeremy Jason McCall.
He can have that commercial. Hi, I'm Jeremy Jason McCall.
Yeah, like that. I think that's super fun and super funny, and I think it could make for like a really cool like co-star role like throughout like the first season or whatever, and then like his big guest star moment appearance. But yeah, I love this. I think that anybody who thinks this is like a middling entry or whatever, I get where you're coming from in the terms of like the grand scheme.
Sure. It doesn't move the plot forward like at all. It doesn't have a huge semblance for the future. It doesn't have much meaning in terms of the series as a whole. But
I think all of you should revisit it, because I think that as a standalone book entry, it is markedly better than a lot of you are giving it credit
It's real fun. And we're here to have a good time, right?
That's right. It's all I ever try to do, baby.
Should we go on over to the next book, Mr. Gianni?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So the next book on the list is the Andalite Chronicles.
Ooh.
Which this one is, I know this one came out as a 3-book series, and it's all smashed into one. So it's like 300 something pages. So it's longer than like what we have been reading. Okay. Let me see.
I'm getting. Is it?
Oh, you know what? Okay, hang on. Let me.
I'm getting The Change as the next one. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong, but I don't think that one is next in the list that we have. Let me see. Yeah, The Change is. Yeah. So in the list that I'm looking at, our list of books that we downloaded, it's The Reaction, then the Andalite Chronicles, and then it's The Change. Mm-hmm. Okay, so look up the Andalite Chronicles.
Okay, I am I am on my way. The Andalite Chronicles. Okay. Published in November 1997. Whoa! Look at that guy.
I know. Look at him.
Whoa! Before
What's
the
on...
Animorphs, there was Elfangor. Wow.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Cool. Wait,
Look
so
how...
I'm assuming this is just going to be like on the Andalite home planet, the Elfangor story?
Yeah.
Is he going to narrate this one?
I think he's going to work out a lot. I think that's what he's going to do because he's jacked.
Yeah, beefy boy.
He's a strong boy. Yes, he does narrate these. So, so like I said, I believe these books were released as a 3-book series, the Andalite Chronicles, but because the one that we have downloaded kind of smooshed them all together. So it's going to be one bigger book, but it's going to be all of them together. So,
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That is fine by me. Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I'm very excited. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's no morphing on this cover, so I can't really pick it apart.
What is on the cover? What do you see on there?
I mean, I presume it's Elfangor, I would presume, but it is an Andalite that looks very, very powerful and Herculean almost as it's standing here on a planetary, like a terrestrial design that looks very foreign. So presumably some sort of Andalite homeworld, backlit by a very prominent sun, and there looks to be a little ship racing off in the distance in the skyline there as well.
And little asparagus trees on the side there.
Yeah, they're very phallic and make me feel a little uncomfortable. I was thinking about this though, actually just now when you were talking about how beefy Elfangor looks, and I think about this from time to time. How long do you think it would take? So say an alien species came to Earth and revealed themselves to be some sort of sentient species. How long do you think it would take before we try to fuck one? Because I think as a human species, I don't think it would take very long. I think...
You'd be down for Elfangor?
I think it wouldn't take that long. I think that... I'm not saying me in particular. Like, I look at Elfangor and I'm like, wow.
Sure.
But I'm not saying I in particular would be like, take me. But the fact that
you got to be wined and dined first.
The fact that I'm even considering it tells me something, which is that there is definitely someone out there who's a bit more of a risk taker, a bit more of a go-getter,
likes to live dangerously.
And I think obviously they'd have to government protocol or whatever they'd have to because they're gonna do their boring bullshit or whatever. But once aliens are living here, I give it 3 months. 3 months. 3 months tops. Someone's gonna fuck one.
Oh my god.
And that's pushing it. You know what I mean? Like
Gianni,
someone's gonna try to fuck one in the first day. It's just a question of whether or not they're gonna.
Gianni, look, I gotta tell you, you're close to another plot point in this book.
Shut up.
I can't. I have
makes love with a human.
I can't tell you if he did or didn't. I cannot confirm or deny. But
you're actually
you're
joking.
kind of close to a plot point in this book, folks. If you know, you know.
You're actually joking.
I'm not. I'm
so excited. I'm so excited. I'm finally gonna get the juicy romance that I've been looking for.
You might actually get your yearning sense tingled a little bit in this book.
Colleen Hoover certainly couldn't provide it, but maybe K.A. Applegate can.
Yep, and Michael Grant.
Michael Grant. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
So.
Oh man.
You got something to really look forward to in this one, Gianni. You're gonna find such happiness.
Holy shit. Double the page count and double the fun, you know what I mean? That's all it took.
That's right. So yeah, this one's really good. I did read this one. I do know what happens in it. I remember some plot points. And yeah, there's definitely a plot point in it, or may not happen, where there may be or may not be a little bit of romance.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You may also see some familiar faces. You also may not. So, we'll see.
Hell yeah. Very excited.
Yep.
This is good.
Yep.
This is good.
Yeah, you're going to really enjoy it. So
Beautiful.
Yeah. I can't wait. So excellent. All right. So I guess that brings us to the end of this episode. So if you guys want to email us, of course, you're all absolutely welcome to email us at morphinbuddies@gmail.com. That's morphinbuddies at gmail.com.
GMMAL.
Irish wristwatch.
Okay.
You can absolutely send us an email. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us?
And how long do you think it would take?
Yeah.
For the human species to try to fuck an alien?
Question. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on. Did they do that in District 9? Did that happen in District 9? I didn't see that movie because that movie scared me a little bit.
I can't remember now, but I'm positive someone tried to at some point. I remember the aliens obviously having because I don't know, because the whole thing is an allegory for apartheid. So,
yeah.
But I remember the aliens having families. I don't remember a human
having alien family.
Having an alien family. But you never saw it?
I never saw it because body horror freaks me out. Like,
oh, it does. It does get there.
Yeah, I don't like the feeling of being trapped in my own body and stuff is changing and I can't control that. Like, I'll never be able to watch The Fly. Sorry, can't do it. I know it's a classic.
Yeah.
I did make myself watch The Thing because I know it's such like a big thing in horror films and I know how good it is and I really like the practical effects. It took me 2 days to watch that. I had to at one point when the guy's like kneeling in the snow and he's like, ah, and he's got claw for one hand. I had to stop it there.
Know your limits. I get it.
Yeah, so I had to stop it there. And I was like, I'm not going to let a movie beat me. What kind of bullshit is that? So the next day I finished it and I was just like, okay, that was pretty good. I still can't watch the beginning of that though with the dog. I can't.
Yeah.
Can't watch that.
Tough.
Can't
That's
watch
tough.
that.
Any puppy stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was rewatching all the Alien films, of course.
Oh, yeah.
To prepare for Alien Romulus.
Did you see it yet? Did you see Romulus?
I did.
Did you like
I did
it?
see Romulus. I am a big fan. I could see why it's splitting people, but it was I liked it a lot. Because it kind of goes through like someone described it as a greatest hits movie, and I was like, yeah, it's a greatest hits movie. And then the last 20 minutes happens, and I was like, oh no, this is fucking awesome.
Oh, great.
I was like, I'm a huge fan of the last. But I will say, if you're squeamish with body horror, probably not the franchise for you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but I forgot about the dog in the beginning of Alien 3. It was like, I was like, oh no.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I just saw 1 and 2.
Yeah. It's brutal, man. It's
yeah, I don't like
niche
that.
Keat, as they say.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like dog stuff anymore, and you see that now reflected in more films where you think the dog's gonna die and then the dog's fine, and everyone's like, okay, good.
There's a website that's literally dedicated to this.
Oh, really?
That's called, I think it's called doesthedogdie.com.
What a joy.
Which does give people a sort of warning about the level of violence that's going to be put onto
that's fantastic.
A dog on screen.
Yeah, I can't. The violence to animals is something that's very difficult for me. Humans, I don't give a shit. We're terrible to each other. Animals don't deserve it. No,
it's tough. I agree.
So I have not watched District 9 just because of the body horror stuff. I don't think I'd be able to take it.
Yeah, it doesn't feature as prominently to the plot as something like The Fly, but
right.
definitely is there.
Yeah. Also, if we want to get back to how long would it take for humans to fuck an alien Romulus, facehuggers immediately. Isn't that the first thing they do?
I mean, the central allegory of Alien is forced pregnancy, so it's literally
yes.
They go right for it. They go
100%. So
they stick a little tube down your throat. It's
no,
not
thank
great.
you. Gross.
It's not.
Anyway,
great.
Wow, what a way to end the podcast on this note. Gianni, everyone, it has been a joy. If you stuck with us for this long in this episode, this is a longer episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and hopefully you giggled a little bit. You had some goofs, and you take a second look at this book because it's definitely worth it. We had a great time. Did you put it on your list? Did you put it on your ranking yet?
It's gonna be my number one. I think
Wow.
This is the one to beat for me.
I think that's fair. It's fun.
This one's just made for me, man. Like
Yeah.
it really is.
It's really fun.
So it usurps the Predator at that top spot for me.
It works. So yeah, next book, Andalite Chronicles. We will be back in 2 weeks. We'll dive into your little ear holes like the yerks that we are. I mean, the humans that we are.
Of course.
Of course. We would never.
Of course we are.
We would never.
Right.
And we'll see y'all in 2 weeks on the next episode of Morphin Buddies.
Bye.